What decided to make you sway off into creating retro billet OBS parts?
So I've always kind of liked it. And back when they were available, I couldn't afford them. I was a 17-year-old kid, so that wasn't working out. I built a Tahoe, a four-door Tahoe that kind of wanted billet parts. Couldn't find any of the old retro style stuff. Our first part initially was probably 2 years ago at this point.
OBS Talk, your number one source for 88 to 98 Chevy truck parts. Today, awesome guest, Randy, Spare Time Billet, the creator or recreator, in some cases, of all the original billet parts that were available in back in the day, back when these trucks started. So welcome, Randy, to OBS Talk.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great to have you here. And let's, for the people that don't know you, so sparetimebillet.com is the website, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So, and what's your social media, like Instagram?
Spare Time Fab Billet.
That's what I wondered, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I knew
No,
it
it's
was
a
different.
mouthful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't think
Well,
that
they could,
through when I got it. So,
that's okay. Everything's a work in progress.
right.
So cool. So Randy, you make a lot of billet parts, but let's rewind a little bit and let's talk about what you actually do for a living, other than the billet parts. Let's start there.
Yeah. So we do upholstery kits and full interiors for semi trucks, Class A trucks. We've done that for about 6 years. We went from working in my basement, renting a little two-bay shop, to now we have about 7,000 square feet. We have two larger bays, this here being one of them that we have trucks in, typically doing complete interiors. And then we also ship probably 60-70% of what we do actually just gets shipped to the end consumer for those to install. Anything from super simple to full-blown high-end stuff. Before that, I just drove truck for 12 years. So,
Oh, interesting. That's cool. So do you have billet parts for the transports too?
a couple. We have some pedal sets. We got some stuff in the works for them, some grab handles. We'd like to do a couple more pedal setups for them, and probably handles, maybe some thresholds, like when you come through the door. I don't know how much we'll do in there because that market's fairly saturated with stuff. So I'm not sure how much we'll do there. Typically, we end up with a part, something like that. It's because we needed it here, or
Oh,
what we found elsewhere we didn't like. So if we're going to make one, we'll make a lot. So,
right. That makes sense. So what decided to make you sway off into creating retro billet OBS parts?
so I've always kind of liked it. And back when they were available, I couldn't afford them. I was a 17-year-old kid, so that wasn't working out. I built a Tahoe, a four-door Tahoe that we still actually have, but it's mostly gray interior, and we did a bunch of pink and teal, and we did pink and teal on the outside, and kind of wanted billet parts. Couldn't find any of the old retro style stuff. There was some newer stuff out there, but nothing in the retro style. Our first part initially was probably 2 years ago at this point. I think it was the grab handles we did first, and then it's just kind of grown from there.
Interesting. So what I find cool about your parts is like the vents, for example, those I don't believe were ever available back in the day. So you looked at that and decided to just remake the whole vent and bill it?
Yeah, well, yeah, I wanted something that stayed. So I like factory, but better. I'm not huge on things being completely different. I just want it to be not like a lot of the plastic vents I get are broken or they're about broken. And I didn't really want to do the old style where it had to like circle in them. I think it was Empire had to circle in them.
Yeah.
I wanted more of a traditional look, but just simple and clean. And the only one that was really tough was the center one, because from factory that was a two-piece swivel unit. So we joined all that. I mean, that's all one piece now, and they still clip in just like factory. And I
Yeah.
don't know. I wanted something that was super easy to install. That's always been huge for me.
Yeah. They're easy to install, and plus you have a YouTube channel that people can go to and see the installs too, correct?
Correct. Yep. I think that's spare time billet.
Okay.
I think we dropped the fab on that one.
That's okay. We'll put all the links in the bio for this podcast, and then everybody can
Okay.
find you.
Yeah.
So
No, I make it tough for sure.
yeah, that's a well. Hey, you know everybody can look around a little bit. That's all right. No, I think it's really cool because I just did a quick surf of the website today, and just there's over 40 parts, which is incredible because you know with your oldest part only being 2 years old, like you've done a massive ramp up of making parts, which is great.
Yeah. I didn't want to have I hate it when I go to buy a part and you have to buy one part from this guy, one part from somewhere else, and you have to jump around, which you still do some, but I wanted to have a pretty complete line of parts that you could do everything you needed to do would all be in one place and all have a similar design and look. So they all work together.
Yeah, that
Um,
makes sense. So it's like a complete package instead of a little bit convoluted where, you know, the finishes don't match or the, you know, the sheen is different.
right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
No, that's cool. I like that. I really like the pedals. Your pedals are awesome. Like they look, I think I told you when I got my first set, I don't want to put my feet on them. So-
Well, I wanted to do something that we could help protect them a little bit, but even if you like clear coat them, they kind of dulls them out a little bit. The shine's not the same then as everything else. You could chrome them, but then they shine different again than everything else. So we've kind of just left them, and I
yeah.
think we will.
Well, I still don't want to put my foot on it. So I put that 3M paint protection film on mine.
Okay.
And it was difficult to do because you got to get in the recesses and everything, and you can't tell it's on there at all. So it doesn't change the appearance at all. I don't know what the durability is going to be with that, but I think it'll be pretty strong given that it's not a work truck or anything. It's you know, it's just you know, it's not like we're driving at 100,000 miles. So
Right. Not
if
a
we have
lot
to
of
change it,
not a
yeah,
lot of job sites.
no, exactly. There's no gravel, there's no drought sites. So yeah, so I think we'll be okay on that. One part I really like that you made is you call it the dash saver, but it's the billet aluminum piece that covers up your the vent on the dash, and you can talk about the different years. And then, you know, if your dash has some small cracks in it, it actually ties that all back together. So that was a really and again, that's not a part that was available prior. So how'd you come up with that? That was a pretty cool piece.
I wanted to do something for the defrost event, but I wanted it to be a functional part with so many dashes being cracked, but not cracked bad. Especially down where you guys are down like southwestern where it's so hot all the time. And there's always been the little dash savers available, like the little plastic ones or whatever. And I wanted something that was all one and actually looked kind of flowed with the dash and just not just a little piece that's plopped into where the screw recess is, something that was all one deal and just worked well. We have three different, there's two different ones. And then the second one split into 95, 96, and then 97 to probably whenever they stop, 99, 2000. The dashes just roll a little bit, but there is, and then we have the square dash ones as well. And they're available in all the, I think we had some black ones, but I think that has run out at this point. I'm not sure if we're going back there again. It was kind of a massive pain in the ass. Like the guy that's local is he told me 2 weeks to code them. It was 2 months, which would have been fine if I would have known up front. But once you start telling people you have them coming, then that becomes a problem. So,
Right.
valuable lesson learned not to tell anybody anything till it's sitting in your shop. So,
Yeah, especially don't tell me, you know, because I'm gonna want it right away.
yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah. No, that's a great piece for people, and it because it's twofold. It's cosmetic, and it solves a problem, and it does work. We've put them in our trucks here, and I think I got to thinking about it after, and I think it's a good savior for a dash that's not cracked. Like
Right.
I think that would keep a dash. Like, we can't prove at this point it's going to keep a dash from cracking, but you know that surface area where the screw goes now is encased in that little billet aluminum recessed piece that goes in there, and that's obviously a lot stronger than screwing that into plastic, and it spreads the load out over that whole piece. So, you know, if you've got a really nice dash, I think that's a great way to make sure it stays that way.
You know, I put the first one I did, I had a 2000 dually and it was just lightly cracked around all the three screw holes and we put it in and I think the fact that it actually pulls down when as pulling forward and that thing rattled so bad. Every bump, everything in the dash rattled and it tightened it all back up. And that's when I think we had made 10 of them to start or something. I was like, I think these might actually go because they're functional. We've had quite a few guys that order them in mill finish so they can just collar match them to their dash. So you really can't even tell they're there.
Oh,
Just
that's a good,
the actual
yeah.
function of it. They didn't even care about the billet. They just didn't want to change the dash,
Right.
which
That's a good alternative to do because the one thing about the polished ones is that you do see it in the windshield sometimes, depending on the light. It does reflect back up into the windshield.
but
And
what I found that's super weird is the billet one or the polished one, it reflects really brightly,
yeah.
but the mill one is or the brush finish is almost worse because it reflects so many. There's
Oh.
so many levels going across, so many lines in the brush, and it all reflects back up. It's almost like a white splotch on the bottom of your windshield.
Oh wow.
So
I never would have I wouldn't have anticipated that at all.
I it completely surprised me. I'd put one in my Tahoe, and I'm like, yeah, probably going to go back to polished because that was less.
Yeah.
So
But I like the idea of color matching it too, because color matching it is cool. And if you don't want to draw any attention to it, you can color match it. So that's a solid plan too. I hadn't considered that.
yeah, and you don't have to change the dash,
Well, that's the big
which
thing.
is right.
Yeah. Oh my God, changing those is like I don't know. We've talked about it on other pods, and like I'm fairly patient for a lot of things. That's not one of them.
Yeah, I don't want to do it. It's not on my
No.
want to do list. And we do interiors,
Yeah, I
but
was gonna say, wait a minute, you're an interior guy.
yeah,
you know.
seats fine, everything else fine. I hate dashes. There's just so much crap attached to them. The square
Right.
dashes aren't as bad, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely not my favorite.
No, for sure. So how did you develop these parts? So is this like 3D, like you 3D scan it and then somebody goes into
So,
the computer or like give me a rundown of the workings of that.
so a lot of the vents, is it just the vents? Maybe it was just the vents. We all got 3D scanned and then brought them back in and cleaned up all the lines and just so everything, especially like with the round dash ones where the one was split, we had to equal the lines back out and all that. Everything else has just been drawn off a truck.
Oh,
Make a part. I have a local guy here that's works with me and draws everything for me, and now we actually brought him. We just got a machine in house, so we'll be cutting a lot of the flat stuff. We'll be cutting in house now. That's been here middle January, I think. So looking forward to what we can do, and we can make one-off stuff a lot easier. You know, shop logos or any of that stuff we'll be able to do in house instead of I didn't we didn't do any of that before because it was just too much of a pain.
right. Yeah, and
So
there's too many variables at that point,
yeah,
of who's, sending it out and then getting it back and dealing with all that. And then there's no volume on a one off, obviously. It's one
no,
off.
that was just issue. Like, sure, we can do a logo, but it's going to cost a ton because we can't do it here. And there's too many people involved. It just gets expensive.
Right. What's been your best seller? Like, have you got something that just, really flies off the shelf and kind of surprises you? Or is it pretty good across the board?
It's all pretty equal except for the dash saver. That is by far, and the round dashes are a lot more. That whether it's 95 and 96 or the ones newer, like those are the ones that don't stay around.
Oh, wow.
It's,
Huh.
so
That's
that was
interesting.
trying to think when I was down at Ronnie's show last year. I think I'd showed the original drawing to you and to drawing a blank.
Marcel, maybe?
Yeah, no, it was Marcel. And I showed
Yeah.
it to you guys as like, what do you think of this? And Marcel was the one like, you need to do that right now. So I appreciate that, Marcel. That was
Yeah.
we sold a bunch of them. So
Oh, that's good though. Well, and that's what's cool about this parts line that you've come up with is that it's different than what was done back in the early sport truck days, because they weren't necessarily they had the flat one, right, for the square dash. They had a because I've got one here.
yeah, I think
Um,
it just stuck on though, didn't it? From what I remember, like it was.
No, it has a goofy screw system where you put one of those spring-loaded V clips and they go down and then it pulls back up again. And
Okay.
you gotta and then as soon as you tighten it, it moves. So the
Right.
thing, it goes towards the windshield, then you loosen it, then it goes to the passenger side, and it's
Yeah, keep adjusting.
yeah, you got to keep adjusting it. It was okay for his day. That's in the billet meter. Like it's old school from that, but that and the square vents and then the round dash vents, like those are all products that were never available, but they serve a great purpose now. So I think that's really cool that you've done that.
Yeah. I wanted, I had, yeah, I just wanted a set and I wanted them to be, I've bought a lot of truck parts over the years and nothing's more frustrating when you open a package and it doesn't fit or doesn't install like it's supposed to. And even now, like with all our transportation parts, like everything comes with hardware. If it needs a drill bit to drill something, it comes with a drill bit. Like that kind of stuff has always drove me insane. Especially if it's not a quarter-inch drill bit. Well, sure, like then it gets to be a pain, but
Right.
I want to keep it easy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's supposed to be fun to put these parts on. It's not supposed to be a nightmare.
Right. For sure. Yeah. Plus,
Although,
I know how many people I've cussed over the years, so I don't want to be the guy on the other end of that. So,
yeah. That being said, when I look at your dually behind you, I'm not sure how fun that is to put that wheel on there.
oh, it fits. It's not even tucking. It's
No, it's pretty badass though, but that's a big ass wheel.
it's only 22s. We didn't do
Yeah.
the 24s. It was,
Is that
but
and
we
then
drive
what
them.
lowering kits? What's in that truck? A Beltec?
Yeah, it is a Beltec. It's a Beltec front, and then the rear is a Tin Works because they have the bigger helper bag.
Oh, okay.
Um, we tow a little camper around with it some, and this year it's probably going to tow a little shop trailer around to some shows. But we drive it. We put I don't know probably 3,000 to 4,000 miles on it last year. We drove it down to C10 Fall Revival and a bunch of stuff that was closer. It's a fun one to drive. So
It looks badass.
thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, I like it. So you've got another project on the go too that I know about, but you can tell everybody else because you did something that people don't normally do, or I haven't seen anybody do for a long time, and that is take the frame out of a Suburban. So,
Well, that was just escalation. That wasn't supposed to happen. I bought it out of Florida, so I should have bailed. That was number one. Like we can't find rust-free trucks or Pennsylvania. We have salt and snow and whatever. And I wanted a two-wheel drive white Suburban. It was pretty clean. And I had a buddy down there that went to look at it. And he's like, yeah, he's like, but it won't start. I'm like, what do you think? He's like, well, the guy that's selling it is kind of a moron. He's like, I think they were trying to get it running when he was there and messing around. He's like, I think if you get it back to your shop, like you'll be fine. Just tune it up and whatever. It never would. It had a miss. It always had a miss. It had one cylinder was a little messed up. So we'll just put a motor in it. So I ordered a motor from Summit. I'm like, well, it's a part, so we might as well put a trans in it. So I ordered a GM trans. And then I was like, well, like 8 more bolts and we can just drop the frame and paint it. Like we're right there. And now it sits outside. Frame's back under it. The motor's just sitting over there along the wall with the trans. It's it's kind of I'm not sure, and now I don't know where to stop because we've done the chassis. Like we didn't have intentions of that. The thing's gotten out of hand, and we did a full interior in it. So that it's been apart for a year and a half. So we did an interior in it like 2 years ago and did a couple shows with it, and then I was afraid to drive it anywhere. I didn't want to, and I don't want to trailer my stuff everywhere. So it kind of just sat, and then now it's been blown apart for a year and a half. So
well,
we tried to
I
sell
feel
it,
good
nobody
that.
bought it.
Oh
So
yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe I should buy it because I love Suburbans, as you know.
I'm
So,
aware. This one's in a lot of parts for you, Mark. Be ready to go.
yeah. Well, what's funny is Suburbans are kind of one of those things that are a little bit still maybe under the radar for people like if they haven't experienced them. But when you actually travel with a Suburban and you can the benefit is you can put stuff in the back and just shut the doors and you don't need a locking bed cover or anything. And and your stuff's secure, and you can pick up a ton of stuff in them and everything. And so I don't know, I find that to be very useful. Like I've really enjoyed having Brickyard. It gets used a lot. It gets used for work. Like it's loaded and picks up parts and delivers parts. And like go to the powder coater and you're not worrying about tying everything down in the back of a truck. You just put it in the back of the Suburban.
Yeah,
So
no, I've always loved. I had a Suburban, had a it was roughly this color, two-tone Suburban before the white one that actually a buddy of mine owns now. But I've always loved Suburbans, and I have the Tahoe. Like I like SUVs, always have. It's just handy. I,
yeah, I feel the same way. So what other so dash vents, dash vents, dash saver, dash vents, the pedal kits, coat hooks. What else is there?
there's
The
grab
dash
handles.
inserts, grab handles.
Yeah, and then we have, yeah, for the square, there's dash inserts. I want to do. We've drawn them, but I haven't got them cut yet. I want to do like the speaker grills, the vents on the
Oh,
doors. We haven't done the speaker grills in the dash of these, like of the square dashes. I drew them. We cut like two sets, and then I wasn't sure how I felt about them, so they're still maybes. I don't,
yeah.
I don't care for the way the grill came out on them, where the speaker opening actually is. So I'm not sure what we're doing with that yet. Yeah, they're on the shelf up there. We did a dome light, which I know how you feel about the dome light. We have another design coming. I actually tried to cut one last night and broke like two bits, so kind of bailed on that. For I had to order some more bits, and it's more of a rectangle to match everything else in the truck is rectangles. So I'm trying to think if we have anything else coming. Oh, we do the emblems on the side, which I'm hoping soon we'll be able to cut them here, and then whatever you want on the side of them, we can set that up and do shop logos or truck names or whatever. Just can't do a bow tie. So there's
Oh
that.
yeah, they frown on that.
Yeah, they told me no. I tried to do it the correct way and they said no. So
Huh, that's not surprising, really.
no, it was disappointing at the time, but I don't know. It's probably better because I don't have to pay them royalties for everything. I don't have to worry about it. So in the end,
Yeah,
it's probably easier.
yeah, and actually on those, well, you probably can't do any of the names either, right? Like when they said Sierra
So I
and
think if you
stuff like
change
that.
that font, you can, but
Okay.
I haven't pushed it at all. I just stay under the radar. I don't need GM knocking on my door for something stupid. Like that sounds terrible to me.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, I'm sure you got better things to do than play around with them.
yeah, no, that sounds terrible.
Yeah. So one part that's kind of cool is that your transports have transpired over into the OBS, and you offer OBS interior parts too. A lot of people, given the name of Spare Time Billet, they're not really maybe thinking of that. So this is a good time to talk about what you've done with all the interior, like the seat panels and door panels and everything. So let's talk about that.
So we've been offering since we've started, even I would say prior to that, we've offered seat covers for like the 95 and up leather seats. And then that's kind of where it stopped because everything else, the foam is molded into the cloth. We can cover them here, but to send a kit out and have somebody expect them to, you know, try to figure out how to get that all to stay on and look nice, we haven't messed with that at all. It's too much of a pain for, and I'm not great at phone tech. So, and that's going to end up with a lot of phone tech. So we haven't messed with any of them, but yeah, we have a CNC quilter, so we can put whatever design they want, pattern, diamonds, hexagons, any of that stuff we can set in and make you a seat cover. We can do vinyl, leather, or whatever. This one, this part, I'm pretty proud of.
Oh yeah, the
This
door panel
one,
piece.
door panel piece will clip into whether your truck had the factory piece that pulled out, or if you just had the cloth that was glued to the door, this will work with either one of them. That way, if you do a set of seat covers, you can match your door panels, and for pretty cheap, you can have a completely different looking interior and not spend an absolute ton of money and
Yeah.
get a new.
Huh.
I think the new foam. can only get new foams for the seat on the driver's side bottom, I think. But if you replace that, you can have a, pretty decent setup and for probably less than 1,500 bucks, and yeah, not break the bank and have fresh seats, fresh, just the whole new look.
Right. Is that something that the average person, like a person with basic skills can install those covers, or is it something that you still need to go to a pro like to have them installed?
They are like, it's not for, they're a little tricky. I mean, it's still pretty, it's good. It's some work to it. I want to do a video on those soon, but I've bought up all the leather seats in the area off Marketplace. So I haven't been able to find another set to do a video and install a video and stuff with, but that's coming soon. Um,
Yeah,
it's it's definitely harder than any of our other parts for these trucks. I would say that it's going to take a while, but I mean, it comes with everything. It comes with the hog ring pliers, everything you need to do it. So it's just
interesting.
time.
So so back to the other seats for a second, the fabric and they glued it onto the foam. That's kind of an epic disaster later on, right? Like it's just not something but if somebody would somebody be able to send you that seat and you could do it? It's just not something that's easily done at home, right? Like it's just,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We have the
do you
stuff
separate
here.
it? You have to take it off. You got to take the
No,
fabric off the foam.
it destroys the foam. So
Oh,
yeah, so we've done it. We did the set in my Tahoe. The cloth is still under there, but we sliced where we needed to put Velcro in it to, to pull all the inserts down in and all that. And that's the problem. Like, we have glue and whatever we need here that works well with that setup, but it's tough to, like, I can't, how do I send this much glue? Plus I think then you have to have a hazmat charge and all that stuff. So here in house we can do it, but we just haven't found a good way to send a kit that's not going to make somebody hate me to do that at home. So that's been the problem with that.
well, see, my motivation for asking is that I probably have 6 sets of those bucket
No.
seats that are like that. you know, and,
Imagine that. Mark has those. Yeah.
yeah, and what am I supposed to do with them? Like it's because I did talk to the guy here that does all my stuff. He said that he goes, yeah, we can do it, but the way he said it was like it's going to be a problem. It's not gonna go easy. And I said, well, okay, well maybe we've got to look at a different seat. Like because what's those are great seats from the factory if you can recover them economically, but they're not something. If you're going to go out on a limb, then you might as well redo all your foam anyway. If you're going to
Right.
go that far, you might as well
And
make
that's
it
what,
into a custom seat.
yeah. And what sucks is they haven't really yet come up with like new foam for all the, it's, so what I've found so far, the only thing I can find is the lower driver's side. In house, we can modify that one to fit the passenger side, but again, I can't ship that. There's no backs. I talked to the one phone manufacturer, and they'll do it if I send them 40 grand to make a mold. So I kind of bailed on that one. We don't need them that bad. The cool
No,
part would be if we could buy foam, if there was backs and lowers for every position, then every seat would be recoverable because you would just pull your cloth and foam off, throw it away, and put new foam on it, and you'd be ready to go.
right.
So
Huh. Interesting.
that's what sucks. If the new ones come with all the new Velcro and everything, buried in the foam. So,
Interesting. Because that is one of the downsides of those trucks. Really, is trying to redo an interior, and and mostly seats more so than anything. A lot
right.
of the other parts have become available now, and you can buy the 94 dash down, and a lot of the smaller pieces like LMC and Autometal Direct have all that stuff coming out. But the seats themselves, unless you, but it's funny, like it's difficult to get an aftermarket seat that looks right and fits right.
Yeah,
So
I put a set in another truck I have, aftermarket ones, and I don't like, I feel like they're too narrow. And then their wider seat that I saw is too tall. Like, it sticks. I like to keep everything under the window, and they were way too tall. So I'm not sure what we're gonna we're probably going to use them and just try to fatten them up a little bit so they look like they should be there.
Yeah.
And maybe fatten up the console a little bit. Not sure what we're going to do with it, but yeah, aftermarket for those is not great at this point.
No,
And I know there's
I
some
find,
available, but I just feel like they're too skinny most of the
well,
time.
I think they're car seats.
Right.
I think they're just car seats with truck brackets, and a lot of the brackets are too low and they're angle iron. Like they're just, they're brutal looking, but they're just not cool at all, and they're
No,
expensive.
the
So,
set I got that we put in that truck had mounts for it, and I put them in, and they sat like the windshield was only about the top of the windshield was here. I'm 5'4". Like I sit low in everything. And I felt like I was like my elbow was down to the window. I was like, something's weird about this. It's not for me.
no, that's funny. Yeah, it's no seats. Like I don't think people understand the amount of engineering that somebody like General Motors puts into a seat. Like because those seats in the OBS, especially a 95 and up with buckets, those are with the fold down center armrest. Those are great seats. Like they're comfortable.
So we have truck drivers that are taking those seats and putting them in, like redoing them, put new foam on the bottoms and putting them in their semis just
Oh,
for that
really?
reason. Like, yeah, I've got two or three customers that have done that. They're like, well, I just like them. And
Huh.
they're like the armrest, you only need one armrest really in a truck because there's one on the other side. And yeah, I got a couple guys that are doing that. Put a
Oh, we're
new
gonna have to
air ride,
watch that.
yeah, put an air ride suspension underneath it and good to go.
Yeah, interesting. Well, really, they should knock that off, really, because we don't need them taking all our seats.
Makes it a little tougher.
Yeah, makes it a little harder.
Yeah. There's a guy local here at a bunch of OBS stuff with Marketplace, and I called him or messaged him. I'm like, look, I'll take all of them. Well, the leather's beat up. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I just want the seat. We can fix the rest of it and clean them up. What are you doing? I'm like, oh, just messing around. But
We're making bar stools.
yeah, don't tell anybody else. And when you get them more, let me know. He's good for usually a couple sets a year. So
Oh, well, that's good. It's funny around here, like everybody changes the seats in their Razor, and there's like 4 million Razor seats around here. And there's a guy that makes bases like for bar seats. And so,
okay,
yeah, so my buddy somebody gave him four for his birthday, and then he went and bought four more. So he's got eight of them. So he's got eight Razor seats for bar seats in his garage. So it's
for
kind of, yeah.
if there's that many, they're probably not worth anything.
Oh no, you can get like I think with the bases he sells them for I don't think they're even $100 each, like all done, ready to go. And it's fine for a garage bar because you're not going to sit there that long because they're not really that comfortable, but they do look cool though. Like
Right.
so that's kind of funny. So you got the dually behind you, you got the Tahoe, and you've got the Suburban. So you're gonna have to get back on the Suburban. I think we need to see that thing rolling. You're gonna have to put some pressure
Yeah.
on you.
Well, it used to sit in that bay on that side, and then work. So it went outside, and now it's outside. Probably, hopefully, it comes back in at some point, but it's
Yeah,
definitely not on priority list at this point.
yeah.
It's it doesn't drive, and then like when this one drives, like that's way more fun. So it wins.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's funny. That's cool though. So what are you thinking? So you've got a few parts in the ringer, but like any other thoughts on what's coming up? Is there anything you really
um,
want to make that you haven't tackled yet?
I don't. Nothing really is. I mean, I want to make. So they made little pieces for the side of the 95 and up seats back in the day, but there's not a ton more that I'm really looking at. I kind of feel like we've got a pretty solid line of stuff. Well, I want to here hopefully in the next month or so, I want to start doing a pretty simple console to go with the 95 to 98 style seats. Something that has a better cup holder than what came in that truck,
Yeah.
and just something a little more user, but not so. I see a lot of them aftermarket, but they get so big and bulky. I want to keep everything low. So, it's like factory was been under your armrest and just simple and clean and kind of flow with look like it should be there.
Right.
Um, Maybe be able to put a 10-inch subwoofer or something in it, but keep it pretty low profile.
Yeah. So that would be more like I've always looked at those. I kind of like the previous generation center console better,
Right.
like the early center consoles. And then I always thought if somebody took one of those and then made a billet piece where the cups go, that kind of how now the cup holder is a little more refined in size and depth.
Yeah.
And so if you made a billet piece that went in there and then used that flatter, because I don't understand all that stuff on the 95s and up where they've got that flip up thing and all that stuff. Like what good is any of that stuff? You just get rid of
Right.
it all.
Yeah.
And
Cause you never
you know,
close it.
no, and it's like, but I don't even know what it's for. Like I guess back in the day it was for a notepad or something stupid like that. But
Oh,
you
you're talking
know,
about the one on the top of the armrest.
yeah, on the top of
Yeah.
it, it's like, what the heck is that? Like, we don't need that thing on there. And I've actually taken those off and panel bonded up the holes and painted them and got rid of that.
Just get
Like in
rid of it.
Brickyard, there is not there. And
Right.
I
Well, that's
get 10
why,
hours in something nobody saw.
right.
So,
Just to make it clean.
yeah,
No, I mean, that's kind of what I want to kind of go more upholstery stuff. I mean, that is our wheelhouse. That is what we do. The billet's been a lot of fun, but it's not a priority of any sort. Like yeah, I want to do it and I enjoy it. Plus it gives me excuse to go to shows, which is cool, and see
yeah,
other trucks. But yeah, the upholstery stuff, I'd really like to get a complete kit so you can, buy a box and transform your interior for, I don't want to put any pricing on the console yet because I haven't got it anywhere, but it shouldn't be a crazy number. It
right.
should be a lot more affordable, and because I feel like interiors get missed a lot on these trucks. Like the crazy exterior, bag, body drop, whatever,
Yeah,
big wheels, and they'll spend, you know, because they don't want to spend 10 grand to get an interior built, then they don't, no, people just don't do anything because once you start, you got to finish.
right.
So if you get something affordable, I think it would serve everybody well.
Yeah, I think so too. And with everything coming, so basically everything's coming back, right? Everything's coming back that started with the sport trucks back in the 90s in their inception. So from an interior standpoint, this is a loaded question. Do you think, in your opinion, that tweed is going to come back?
I thought that's where you were headed. So I don't think so because it sits terrible. But we actually did a roadster last year and they came in and they were an older couple and they're like, oh, we seen this car. It was so cool. And they show us pictures and it was entirely tweed. So I did some more research and the car's been done for 35 years. That had all the tweed in it and they were just so surprised. Like I was like, that's so we did use actually some tweed in it, but we toned it down a lot instead of wrapping literally everything in it. So,
That's what I wondered. I wondered if there's a way in the modern era that we could incorporate a little bit of tweed somewhere and it would just be like it would just be visual, not you're not sitting on it per se, and it's just a little inspiration or something. I don't know. I'm just
just a
giving you wacko
throwback.
ideas.
Yeah. I had a feeling that's where it was headed when you started that.
Well, yeah, but there's an agenda to this. So a guy I know just actually today picked up the original Boyd ZR1 pickup, the white and purple pickup.
Okay.
And the interior, obviously, so he reaches out to me and we've had multiple conversations and we'll be involved with bringing that truck back to the way it exterior wise, it looks like it did when it was new.
Okay.
Engine compartment and interior have been messed with. So the engine compartment's got a bunch of stuff in there that's got to get thrown away. And the interior's ruined. They put a roll bar in it. They put these Corvette seats. There's a goofy center console with rivets and everything. It's just a disaster. But the original seat in that truck was like a mauvey purple tweed. And so that's what got me thinking about that because I thought, man, where are we going to get that? If we turn it back to original, it's going to need to have tweed, you know, and I don't even know. Can you buy tweed? Like, is there like, does somebody have a warehouse of tweed somewhere? Like, I don't
You
know.
can buy some new yet. Like we found some for that car, but it's super limited. Like you used to be able to buy gray with black and gray with a little less black, and like there was all these separate options. And you go through blue, and there was 5 options of blue. Now there's one.
Oh, okay.
Or, like they really, because it does get used in like some super like basic transport vehicles, or because it wears well. I mean, it doesn't wear out, so it'll last forever.
Huh.
It'll hold all the dirt, but it won't
Yeah.
fall apart. So
It's
it'll be stained,
incredible.
but it'll be there.
Oh, I love it. Well, we'll dive into that later once the truck got picked up today. So we'll see how what it takes to. Ron Mangus in California actually did the interior in that originally, and he's still in business. So I haven't talked. I talk to him all the time, but I haven't talked to him about this particular one. But yeah, so I got an agenda with the tweed.
Right.
So, but so what's interesting is if you is you know you live on the East Coast and but you've been out here to Ronnie's reunion and to Dino's, and so did you what would you what's the difference between East and West? Do you see a difference there with the trucks and what people are buying? Is it is there something there that's notable to you where it's like, oh yeah, that's really popular here, but not popular over there?
Just the amount of trucks. I mean, that was crazy to me the first time when I was out at Ronnie's. Like, I'm just driving to get lunch, and there was like this crazy. It had to be early 2000s, like Silverado, that was just like we only see that at shows here. That's not driving on Tuesday to get lunch. Like it's not
Oh,
like that kind of stuff is crazy to me. We don't
oh,
see that
okay.
here.
Oh, well, really? Huh.
Billet is not an East Coast thing that much. Not this kind. Like there's, how would I say? It's definitely different. The amount of people that are into it, which is probably because you guys can drive yours year round. I mean, it's got to be that. I mean, ours have to go away for. I mean, this truck, I moved it into shop today. The last time I was in the truck was our holiday parade, which I think was the end of November, and like it just came across the parking lot into the shop. So I was actually concerned it wouldn't start, and it did first time. I was impressed, and it's a 6.5,
Um,
so I was sure it wasn't going to start.
yeah, that's funny. 'Cause
But it
Well, I
fired.
yeah, I think we take a lot of that for granted here. You know, it's like, you know, that we can drive these things all year round and you know, that's the one thing I noticed. So you know, that what you noticed there, I agree with because I noticed that when I moved from Canada to California
Yeah,
because everybody up there, the car cycle up there was built basically around the winter. It was like it was the opposite of what you think because it'd be what can I accomplish over the winter and get done over the winter and then drive it in the summer. Like you didn't want to spend your summer building a car. Like
right.
your goal always was from October to April. That was your like that's why you see so many great cars come out of the East because
We
like
can't
those guys
drive
are
them.
buried in the garage. Like they're you know they got a little path out there and then they're out there working. You know, but for us, so it took a little bit for me to get used to that where you know there's not that because we had situations where people would be like dropping off their car in October. They had no intentions of picking that up till April.
Right.
Like they just weren't going to pick it up. It didn't matter if you had it done or not. It's not going out in the snow. And you know, so there's a little bit of a different mindset there that you know this is a 6 month job, but it can be any 6 months of the year. So
Right. Doesn't change anything.
no, it just
I mean,
goes
do
and
you
goes
guys,
and goes.
so does the scene down there, like, does it, I would assume, like, June through September kind of die off because it's the opposite?
No,
It's so hot? No?
no, no. There's events every week. Like there's stuff. People are doing stuff all the time. Like the bigger shows are kind of staggered out, like the good guys and all that stuff still staggered out, like in those months that they fit in. But you can literally like if you want to go like Huntington Beach, Derrick Donuts every Saturday morning all year, 24/7. Any like Las Vegas has two really cool cars and coffees on the weekend all year, just runs all the time, just go and the cool thing about those is that you get a lot. you do get a lot of different people. It's not necessarily the same people where somebody will go 1 week and they don't go for three, and then you get a different group of people, or they'll get clubs. Like they're big on getting, like even the Volkswagen club's huge. And like, so, okay, there's all these Volkswagens. Those are badass. Like there's some really cool stuff. And so they'll get the Mustang club will come, or a Mopar club. So yeah, it just runs 24/7. It never shuts off. There's no shortage. We're actually at a saturation point, I feel, where we have to pick what we're going to go to do and what we're going to go see, because you just can't do it all. It's too much.
We actually had a indoor show here last weekend, which is the first show in the area since probably October
Oh wow.
that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
They get a pretty decent turnout just
Huh.
because it's been the only thing for 3 months. So
Yeah.
just everybody's ready to go somewhere. Even if you don't take a car, a lot of people just walk through and, just be around it again.
Yeah. Do you think with the upholstery side of it, probably that's going to carry? Do you think that part of it for you will carry on into the NBS? Like you're going to go 99 to 06?
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely we'll upholster anything. So,
Yeah.
um, except
Literally.
furniture. Except furniture.
Yeah.
We don't touch furniture. I hate furniture. Yeah, no, I would like to. I think that's a market that hasn't really been, nobody's hardly supporting it other than regular factory replacement stuff. But yeah, and the nice part about those, we actually just did a set, is the cloth is not attached to the foam. So you can actually take it off and make a nice cover with it.
Yeah, there's a couple guys that offer brackets to put the NBS seats in an OBS. I've seen
Yeah,
that, and those
yep,
are available. Those are already available if somebody doesn't want to spend the time making them. I haven't experienced one in real life to see how that seat looks and feels, like in that truck. Like I'm not really familiar with that at this point. Maybe we should dive into that at some point, because there's a lot of those seats out there.
yeah. I know. I can't think who it is. Yeah, I mean, he makes a really nice bracket. It bolts right in. Guy that bought my old dually just put a set in it. Yeah, it goes right in.
Huh. So that might be an option. We should take a look at that. We'll dive into that later, you and I, and see
Yeah,
what we can find. Because we have
because
nothing else to do.
right in our spare
In
time.
between looking at tweed samples,
Yeah, the good part is there's only like 4 tweed samples anymore, so it won't take long.
That's
So
true. We need a purple one, kind of purpley pink. So,
you know what? That car we did was purple. I should see. But I think we did like a gray tweed. It wasn't a purple tweed. I think I'm pretty sure because it was all gray interior. Yeah, it wasn't purple. Sorry, Mark.
yeah.
Not purple.
I'm on a mission.
Yeah, I think so. They did have it was like purple and black, like checkered. You know what I mean? Like it was like a
Yeah.
checkered
Oh, yeah.
tweed.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
would guess that's unless you find somebody that has an old, upholstery shop. It's probably buried in the back somewhere because we don't throw
Yeah.
things away. We just end up with stockpiles of things. So
Yeah. Well, we're going to look into this. This topic's not dead yet.
yeah, I had a. We'll be talking next week. Hey,
Yeah. Well, because I'd like to use it as an accent on something. Like I think as an accent, it could be, if it's with modern day technology, though, it could be integrated in there somehow, where it's nostalgic but still cool. I don't know.
and you don't have to sit on it.
You don't
So
have to sit on it, yeah, and maybe not even look at it. Maybe it'll be somewhere else where you can't see it. So,
I'm not a big tweed guy, but
no,
we can make
it's.
exceptions, I guess.
Well, I think we got to try something. I think we got to throw one out. We'll throw one fish out there and see what happens.
Yeah.
You never know. So, because basically, so do you see, like, did you notice also when you came out here, like for as far as trends, like you said, the billet's not a thing on the East Coast really as much as it is on the West Coast. But does that follow through? Like, are the sport trucks like the original style sport trucks that we have, are those like a going concern on the East Coast, or is that a West Coast thing too?
No, I think that's a West Coast thing too. There's not much of a so there's not a huge truck scene around here at all. It is a lot muscle, very heavy muscle car. There's not,
Okay.
I know a lot of lifted, like the newer diesel, that kind of thing. But as far as like a street truck, kind of just like this, where it's just lowered and there's not much.
Hmm.
It's like we go to, if me and a couple buddies go to a show, we like even locally, like that's the trucks lowered like this, more of a, it just isn't a ton.
Hmm.
And
So you
maybe
create
that's
a
just
lot of
because,
attention.
yeah. Well, except nobody cares because they all want to see more
Yeah.
muscle cars. So,
Solid point.
yeah, we're not right style. So, but yeah, no, it's just mini trucking was huge in this area years ago, but all those guys have gotten older and, like there's still some around for sure, but it's not near what it used to be. Um,
I think a lot of those are hard to find now too. It's like try to find a like an early S10 or a Ranger. Um, the first new truck I ever had was an '83 Ranger, and I've tried to find another truck to replicate that truck, and I've never been able to find a good one. There's and same as S10s, you start looking around, where are you going to find an S? At one point they were everywhere, but now I think those things are getting pretty hard to get.
well, and there's nothing left in here really, unless it was an old man truck, kept in a garage for the last 30 years, but there's hardly, as far as clean mini trucks, like they're square S10s. Like I had a ton of them back in the day, and like they just aren't. And if you do see one, they're expensive typically.
Yeah. Huh.
You're like, well, that an S10 didn't even cost that much new. Like, I don't, why would I get that?
Yeah. Well, that was the best part about GM's marketing back in the '90s and the early '90s was that, a loaded pickup truck was still less money than a car. And now I think it's the other way. I think,
Right.
you know, you want to get a crew cab dually right now, like a nice one, you're like, they're 100 grand.
Yeah.
And, you're like, holy, like, when did this happen? When did we do this flip? Like, in the mid 2000s or late 2000s, I guess. But it's like insane to me when I go look at a truck on the lot and it's 89. I saw an Escalade the other day that was $156,000. It's
And
like
that's what, when I went, I bought a dually last year and I kept looking. And I'm like, so I guess I didn't realize I was so poor. Like, where I'm okay with just throwing 100 and like that just, I can't get around it. Like I ended up buying one, but it wasn't anywhere near that. Like I bought one that was a couple years old just to not spend 100 grand. Like it was just
yeah, yeah. It's
crazy
like,
to me.
yeah, and I don't know. Like I'd still rather put money into an OBS than that. Like I know they do drive nice and they are they've come a long way and they're really nice and everything. And then like a friend of mine came the other day for lunch and it's 2023 Dodge. I think I forget what package it was, but it was nice. Like, like I got in that, we went for that. I'm like, oh, this is pretty nice, because I drove that freaking third gen to work, and then I get in that and I'm like, okay, there's a big
It,
difference here, but I don't know if I could spend $75,000 on that. Like I didn't like it that much.
right. I don't know. You do get spoiled pretty quick when you start driving them though. Like an
Yeah,
OBS is really nice to drive every day until you drive something newer.
right. Yeah.
You're like, well, maybe I can just drive something newer every day.
Yeah.
Um, I did start driving the Tahoe. I don't drive any of them over the winter, but I did start driving we've had some unseasonably warm days recently, and I was driving the Tahoe. I'm like, yeah, it's still cooler. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I've had one around forever. I had a Subaru Brat first, but then I had right after that was an OBS, and that would have been, I mean, it wasn't an OBS at that point. It was, so probably 98, 99. So I've had one around for a long time. I mean, there's been
Yeah.
spells without them, but it's just, I don't know. It just feels right when you're driving them because you've been looking at that forever.
Right. And they do drive well, like all things considered.
They,
They're still a decent driving truck, I feel. Like I like it. And and that I think it's more nostalgic from the outside too. I guess I just can't get over. I look at the front of a new truck and I just lost on that. Like it should say Kenworth or actually you'd feel at home because you could have a transport at your place. Like some of those things, if you pulled them in beside a transport, they're almost the same size. Like it's like holy crap, when did this happen?
No,
Like
it's that dually I bought is at 18, and I'm like, it's so big. Like I had a 2000 crew cab OBS dually, sold that accidentally. I put it up for sale kind of as a joke on marketplace, and 2 hours later it was sold. And I'm like, well, crap, now I got to buy something. And I bought it, and it's so much bigger than my OBS was. Like, just overall, it doesn't turn anywhere. It doesn't, and the OBS was lowered. Well, for those trucks, the biggest kit I could get was like a 2 inch without completely modifying everything. And like, we camp, I'd pull a shop trailer. I'm not getting crazy on the suspension. I want to just get in it and drive. And it's just so big. I lowered it 2 inches, and you cannot tell. It just looks like it should look from
that's
factory.
funny. That's like a guy called me up the other day and he lowered an OBS and he says it went up when he lowered it. It was it was so worn out prior
Right.
that it was low. And then he goes, I put the lowering kit in and it went up an inch. Like, he was just kidding, but like,
That sagged out.
it had sagged out that much or somebody had cut the springs or done whatever to it over time. Like I think he didn't realize it was already what it was, and then he goes to all the work of putting the kit in, and it's the same or maybe higher. So,
Maybe that'd be super disappointing.
oh yeah, he was bummed out. He was like, "Yeah, what the hell? What do I do now?" So I don't know. I said, "Send me before and after," and I haven't seen those yet. So
Yeah. I just cut half a coil to be fine.
yeah, that's funny. Well, we used to cut the coils when we were kids, especially in the square bodies. We'd cut those like crazy, and I remember we cut one and it just rode on the bump stops, and we thought that was the coolest thing ever. So,
I had a square body, like a S10 square Blazer like that. Like, it was all bump stops, but it was super low and looked cool. So
yeah,
that's
oh
what
yeah,
mattered.
yeah. When you're 16, that's all that matters. Just how badass can it look?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be drivable.
Nah, it's way overrated.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, cool, man. Well, thanks for making all the parts and all the interior parts, and we'll steer everybody over to your website and to your social media, and they can buy quality billet parts and quality interior parts from you.
Cool. I appreciate it. We hope to do some more stuff interior wise for the OBSs. We have nothing available yet for the square dash, so hoping we can do something for those that help improve, because like, yeah, with the whole foam issue and all that. But yeah, I appreciate it, Mark.
Yeah, cool. Well, take care and thanks, Randy. And we look forward to all the new stuff coming.
Awesome. Thank you.